So
word of mouth, was it?
Yeah, positive word of mouth.
Okay.
So if we're looking at the off season
Mm-hmm.
and it's more locals,
Mm-hmm.
what are their beliefs? So what is their beliefs towards the sustainability initiative? And if their values are the same, because if they're a key stakeholder for our business,
Mm-hmm.
and we want to encourage more sustainability, well, do their values and beliefs link with what we are doing? And if they've proven in this article that, so I don't mess it up.
No, that's okay. Yeah. You're doing great.
So they found that the attitude towards green behaviors positively affects the overall image,
Mm-hmm.
and overall image positively affects visit attention, word of mouth attention, willingness to pay, and it aligned with the attitude towards green behavior. So if we know that the locals in Toronto are positively, they have a positive attitude towards this, and they can help us promote it and message it.
Yeah.
But do we actually know that the people in Toronto feel the same way?
Right.
So are there resources that we can go to find that?
Yes, so I would go to that great thing called Google and try to track down that research about Toronto specifically. That may be difficult. You'll probably have a better chance of Canada as a whole, consumers in Canada and their attitudes and perceptions to green behavior and purchasing decisions. That's sort of what I type in my search engine to sort of find that. I really liked, though, what you said about, this is in Indonesia,
Yeah.
but you had gone through your head and either tried to justify it, which I think you did a good job, saying it's an urban environment. We're talking about tourist destinations here,
Yeah, it was
which is
placed in like a high tourist area in.
which is what we're talking about at the CN Tower, right? So I think it passes the sniff test. To your point about, and I think that's an amazing piece. I think I saw that last night. I would search Canadian consumers, green intentions to purchase and sort of that and find that.
He also said, I guess more luxury. The establishment is people are more willing to pay more. And so, how, on the scale, the 360 restaurant, is it considered upscale or is it?
So what is it? What is 360 considered?
Top shelf.
Yeah, it's expensive. It's really expensive. You're paying for the food and you're paying for the
Right.
the ride, the view, right? So it is luxury.
Yeah.
Okay. Usually you talk about premium and luxury. It's lower end luxury, higher end premium, sort of in between the two. So I think you've got a really good piece of research. Again, to your question of Canada, I try to track that down. If you send me an email, I might be able to ask someone who might have that data as well. And then if I could find it or get it, then I'll post it for everyone.
People in Indonesia seem to
Mhm.
really care about that, and they were looking at more educated people too. There's the different demographics, so the more upscale.
Yep.
If they're more aware of it.
Yeah.
So just looking at how we're being educated in Toronto and if sort of.
And that is typically a consistent finding you will find between environmental purchases as well as willingness to pay, and all of that is a relationship between level of education, level of income as well. So, good. So, back to the messaging. What are the sort of tangible, physical ways to message what you're doing?
In the restaurant itself, I noticed on their menu they actually don't really talk about the sustainability that much, other than a couple of logos beside dishes that are promotion wise.
Okay.
They show the logos at the bottom, but they don't talk about it at all. So there's an opportunity there.
Okay, so on the menus, they show Feast On or OceanWise, which are, Feast On is a certification, OceanWise is a recommendation. Same sort of thing. That's one way. What else? Do they talk about the food? Do they message where the food's origin, or what we call provenance? Food provenance? They talk about.
I'm not sure if they do in the restaurant, but the servers should be selling the food as such. Like, they are basically your number one marketing tool in a restaurant, because it's actually face to face. People can ask questions about it and receive answers.
Okay. So we dove into this last class about the Stella, remember?
Yeah.
And how he was grieved, and it was a bit of an issue to get them to. So there may be a part in your recommendations, and I think we've talked about internal and external. There may be a tactic that you're talking about getting your serving staff on board, right? Like really on board with this, right? Because they are a big part of your messaging, is your staff. So you got menus, you got the staff. You guys are 2 for 2. Danny.
Maybe put more on their website. Because I couldn't find that sustainability tab that you guys were talking about.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't really see it.
So I would agree with you 100%. I think that's an area to focus on. If I want to support my argument, or if I want to check to see if it's actually true, or there'll be an ROI benefit, what might I try to look for about company websites?
The cost of hiring someone to be like a website designer, and someone to like potentially maintain it as well going forward.
Okay, so good. So we got to consider all that, especially in implementation. But what do I want to know about before I spend all this effort on the website? What do I want to make sure first? For me?
That the website is where people are looking for the information.
Right. So do actual consumers visit the website of the restaurant? So what if you go find a piece of research that says only 1% of customers visit the website? Or let's say 20 or 10%. Okay, the evidence shows me, and it doesn't even have to be the restaurant. If you can't find restaurant, corporate websites and consumers, you know? Okay, 10% of consumers visit the website. Then how important is the website? It might be something that I only spend a little bit of my effort, or you were gonna comment?
Can you ask them to send us the data on like their, I guess, the clickbait data? Because they can disseminate that
Yep.
information by IP address. I know that it'll be a little bit skewed, but
I will request that. We'll see. Yep.
yeah.
So just bouncing off the website, if people aren't necessarily going to the website to visit them, are they going to things like OpenTable to potentially book a reservation? And is there a way that they get people to actually put more effort into reviews on there, making sure that they're like 5-star, 4-star restaurant on there, and it's one of the recommended places to go, much like other top restaurants would be.
And if you punch in CN Tower Restaurant in your search engine, OpenTable is the first thing that pops up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, absolutely. What else? Matt?
I think their social media like system have to be improved, because like I try to I went to their to check, like they have about 1,000 followers. Like I feel it's even a small restaurant have more followers than them, and also they don't have any Twitter and Facebook. So and I believe the social media is a tool to update like their news
And communicate message.
Yeah, communicate
Absolutely.
message.
Yep. Social media. I agree with you. Website. Yep. Servers. Menus. Good. What else?
So just in terms of social media, they can encourage your customer
customers to share their experiences, like what they have, like where like they source the food. So like user generated content might be more kind of persuasive and reliable and more approachable than the information like they tend to find on the website, like word of mouth.
Agreed? Yeah, absolutely. Not only, now we've gone into a couple of specifics on social media, but what else? Yes, Victoria.
I feel like a lot of people that go to the CN Tower can't afford the go to the restaurant, and maybe they just go to the glass floor.
Yeah.
So maybe signage on the way up or whatever, just to promote that they are sustainable and local. So when I was there like a month ago at the restaurant, and I didn't see anything on the way up promoting that.
Okay. So, and I think that's a good point to say we, just because someone's going up to CN Tower doesn't mean they're going to the restaurant, but they may go for their anniversary dinner if they know about it, and they may be more likely if they know that it's super sustainable or something about that, or if it's certified. Our certifications, sorry, Courtney, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, kind of related to that. So the CN Tower Instagram has around 27,000 followers, but the CN Tower 360 restaurant only has 1,000, so that's a pretty big disconnect.
Huge.
So I think kind of like she was just mentioning, like finding out like why is it that so many people are interested in as like an attraction, and then the numbers are a lot smaller when you go down to like the food and beverage element.
So why do you think that is such a big discrepancy?
They were saying while they were here that they're trying to differentiate themselves from the CN Tower. They're not posting pictures of the view, they're not posting pictures of the tower itself, just the food and what happens within the restaurant. Because they didn't want to be seen as that tourist trap, they wanted to be seen as like a top restaurant that people would just go to.
Although yesterday they posted a picture of Cameron and John, and they're standing there and there's the view in the background. So I was like, I don't know if you saw that. But if you should go through their Instagram, right? You should be going through and looking, see how it's evolved. It really has changed, and there's efforts. They're putting a lot of weight in their posts on which person, on who. Say it louder. Yeah, John. Why John? He's the chef, right? What's the restaurant company in Guelph that has a really good handle on this, and especially the local food angle? Yes, say it louder.
Borealis.
Who recognizes that Borealis and Mijidon, the neighborhood group, those restaurants, the Woolly, are known for their local food? Okay, so that's more than half the class. What's their motto, their tagline?
Borealis is obsessively local.
Obsessively local, and local tastes better, and these things, right? So that's messaging, and it's all about local. What's the messaging about the brand of the CN Tower restaurant, 360? They're trying to figure that out now, right?
I just thought of this just while we were like discussing it right now, and I don't want this to like sound offensive in any way, but I think just like the name of the restaurant is giving the idea that they're basically telling us they don't want it to do. Like when you hear the word 360, you're like, oh, the view. Like it's not really anything related to like the food or like the sustainability. Is just what you can see when you're there, not what you can like taste or smell or experience.
How long has it been called 360? Yeah.
But 360 could encapsulate 360 degrees of awareness towards sustainability.
Ooh.
Wow.
Ooh. Ooh, I like it.
Another thing that they could do, instead of just being known as the 360 restaurant, they could start to use the CN part. Everyone just says CN, but it's the Canadian National Tower. And if they try and brand themselves as the Canadian National Restaurant, that might force more of the local opinion on it.
Okay, so you know what's happened is just right now you guys are being creative and thinking. This is exciting, right?
Can you spin now?
Honest to God, how many times in your university career do you get to this point when you're using everything you've used, right? And it's a real life, real time issue here. This is why you go to school, right? That all this stuff, me making you, telling you need to look at this. This is the difference between going to university for 4 years and just going on Business Insider or listening to a podcast. It's your education. Knowing this, taking this approach is a competitive advantage for you as employees in the workforce. And this is real. These are the questions you're going to be faced with. This is a real thing. It's cool. I'm excited. You guys are having a really, really good class. What are other things? That whole Courtney's brought up a big thing here, the name and
I feel like in a way they could rebrand it to the locals, because I know I went back in elementary school and I would never think of going back again, but it seems like they made crazy changes since the past couple of years.
Yep.
And no one knows about that. They went years ago and they're never gonna come back, which is a long time thing.
okay, so let's talk about that local market and creating awareness in the local market, because I think we touched on that a bit in last class. And you know, to see the menu, 99 times out of 100, you already have to be there once, right? To hear from the server, you got to be there already. Go to the website, you almost have to make a decision that you want to go there. Social media, you might just stumble across that. And signage, you got to be there already. So what about messaging to the local community, okay, that has an impression of what it is and doesn't know about this new, how can we get the word out into the local community?
This is just my opinion, but like, I've been to like different restaurants in Toronto just because I like eating at different places. And like, when I think of a high class venue, like I go to Community.
Yeah.
Or I go to like, they have a high class restaurant, but I feel like just the awareness, they're not in the area, and they might have similar food, but they're not in the mental headspace. And when you're thinking of, I have some family coming down, like, unless they specifically want to see the CN Tower, I'm not thinking of the restaurant.
So
like, I don't know, I don't know where that's kind of going in my head, but like.
I think that gets at the question. So what can we do to change someone like you? To how can we communicate to Adam?
Instead of just trying to figure out like what are the main ways that locals find restaurants or look for restaurants. Like one of my favorite hobbies is like finding new places to try in the city, and like I love going on, like Toronto blogs or like food blogs, or like trying to figure out like where do people go. Like I live here, so I'm not like browsing TripAdvisor or something like that. So I think figuring out where to find it.
So going on Good Food Revolution or Suresh's blog, what's that? Taste of Toronto or going on. What do you think food bloggers think of the CN Tower right now? If that's where locals, first of all, I would say anecdotally that that's how locals, a lot of them find out. I would see if there's any research to back it up on how do local people, consumers, make their decisions on where to find restaurants or not. There may or may not be. If there isn't, I'd still go down that road. And let's talk about those food blogs. Do you think food bloggers and the food, elitists and things that exist in Toronto know about the new CN Tower and the new way they're doing things?
Probably not. So what they could do is potentially invite some of those people. It's a free meal, and yeah, they'll lose out because it's a high average guest check, but at the same point, there's thousands of people that would see their message if this blogger comes, posts it on social media, says the sustainable things that they're doing, they would get that traffic then from local people that go and try and find these spots.
So people of influence, invite them in so let's invite them in, right? For a really amazing, it's going to cost us a few grand. That's nothing for these guys. What about bringing some of these farmers and business people to talk as well? Sledger Farms. Why not the beer? Was it Dominion beer there? And that person comes in and says to the food bloggers, I now have security. My company has security because we make CN Lager for the CN Tower, and they provided my family. What are those food bloggers going to write about? Or Sledger Farms, the lettuce people. Or, all those things. Show them the Orca. I was amazed at the Orca. The food waste machine. To give them a whole tour, show them the food's not in the basement anymore.
I just had an idea about that like a little bit ago, almost like a conference, not as large as that, but inviting people from like the chefs from top restaurants, the GMs, bloggers, all those kind of people, bringing them in, having conversations with them so that it's almost like a panel discussion of this is what we're doing for sustainable food, what are the other restaurants doing for sustainable food, and because John's message was really about he wants all of the restaurants in the area to be going towards the more sustainable route and getting rid of the whole, we're too large to change, and showing how they did it and how other restaurants are doing it or can do it, and having kind of that discussion, and then those chefs will begin to follow along in that path, and they would recommend as well, because like I know for me, working in restaurants, if the people that I'm working with are all going to a restaurant after work or before it's one of like their favorite spots, and I start to go, I tell my friends about it, and they would trust my opinion on it because we all work in restaurants. So it's like branching out from there, just having these discussions about it with top chefs.
So, Artisanal in town is pretty good at Triple Bottom Line, the chef that owns it, Yasser. Do you think he could have a conference at his restaurant? As for other restaurants that are into sustainability? No. Why not? He doesn't have the space, he doesn't have the money, right? He might not have the network. Do you think the CN Tower could hold a conference or a gathering of chefs to talk about, and that the event space, the whole floor below 360 is all event space, right? They got the money. Trust me, they have money to spend, right?
I think if they were able to find a way to like educate these people, like that they were bringing in the same way that they educate their employees with that like community room or something like that, like involve that somehow.
The theater room. They got that theater room. They got. There's a chef in Denmark. He has a restaurant called Noma. Rennie Redzepi. And he 5 years ago, he started something called MAD. Has anyone heard of MAD? It's the Danish word for food, for food. And it's 2,500 people from around the world. You have to apply to be invited to MAD. I did not get it. My application did not get accepted last year, and I was crushed. You have to apply to go to this because Noma, when he started this, was the #1 rated restaurant in the world. Right? And he was this famous chef who 5 years ago wrote this article and pretty much said, our chef culture is shit. We bully, we mistreat our people, we mistreat everything we do, and he took ownership for it, and he said, I'm part of the problem, and I'm going to fix this. So he created this thing, and now MAD, I was live streaming everything to do with MAD. I was hibernating in my basement, just dreaming one day I might make it to MAD, right? It's the freaking CN Tower. It's known around the world, right? Why not leverage all that stuff, right? You might be able to do something like that.
This is kind of far-fetched, but I know how CN Tower is like the upscale luxury experience, but maybe doing an initiative to bring it down to the streets and maybe having like an educational food truck that goes around and gives people a taste of what they're offering, but it's more catered to people who necessarily can't
Go up there,
but they're driving around and they're given.
I don't think that. What did John talk about? He said they have that garden on the thing, and he's trying to stand there and just give out food. But I think done properly, right? You could extend your outreach into the local community. Someone had mentioned kids are going up there to see the view and learn about whatever. Why not have maybe a kids' food? These are the things we're going to talk about Tuesday. All these sort of creative ideas. This is really key. Okay? Really key. How else can we get in touch with that global or local community of diners that we want to try to attract? Victoria.
I thought about this last week, and then when Colin mentioned it, I thought of it. The online conference thing, hold an actual event where you have the CN Tower and maybe some of their suppliers add some booths, and the public can come out and when they're walking downtown, they can just walk in and check out, find out information on it.
Like an open house almost, or?
Yeah, but you could even invite other restaurants or people who are also sustainable, because they're trying to get it across to many restaurants, not just themselves. I don't know if that would be kind of going below their scale of luxury by doing that, but I don't know.
Yeah, but you know what? Luxury and fine dining has changed in the last 10 years. Right? If you look at the great chefs in the world, other than, Michelin 3 stars, there's not a lot of white tablecloths out there. The quality of food is still super high. Best restaurant I've been to in the last 5 years was in Copenhagen. It was a Michelin 1 star, and the cooks sat me. Like it was, I think I might have told you about this Restaurant Relais, and they just had a group of people who worked everywhere. It was the most amazing thing I'd ever experienced, and there was no fancy tablecloths, or the standards were still high. But anyways, enough topic. You have something to say?
They're related right back to that. I can't remember it.
Okay. So, anyways, I would give you guys literally a 10 out of 10 today on your energy, on your brain, on your contribution. You brought in some really good EDR. Thank you for that. We talked about the methods. We didn't get as far through as I would like to. This is just scratching the surface. And you really have to think about the scope and the ability of these different things to attract and generate an ROI that you think is the benefit that you need. I have some questions for next class. It's Thursday. Well, you know what? I think I have posted it. Maybe it's here. Anyways, I posted what you're supposed to do for Tuesday. It's on CourseLink. Let me see if I remember. The 2 things that you need to do are bring some ideas. Think about design thinking, and we just started touching on some cool creative things like conferences and food trucks.